स्थापितमिदमुदरे स्वयं रूपकदाभिः ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं गुरौ श्रीतुलकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगुणागमनं तं तं तासि सावधूतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपाद सहगणा ललिता श्रीशाखावतांश हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्ता नमोस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 Krishna. Welcome to this class on Bhagavad Gita. So we have been discussing shloka number 3.24. So the main idea behind this is that we are talking about the example of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is described as one of the important Vaishnavas. Nimnaganam yata Ganga Devanam Achyuto yata Vaishnavanam yata Shambhuhu Purananam idam tata. Nimnaganam, that is just like Ganga is greatest of all rivers. Lord Achyuta is the supreme among all the deities. Lord Shambhu, the greatest of Vaishnava. So Srimad Bhagavatam is greatest of all Puranas. So Shambhu, as a great controller, he drank the poison. So this we are discussing in the context that the great people do things. So when they do two things, we need to understand it from two different levels. One is that what is that we need to appreciate their glory, and what is that we have to follow as an instruction. Follow them. So Lord Shiva, being a great controller, which we can see here in this shloka, Ishvaranam Pachasatyam Tateva Acharitam Kvachit Tesham Yatsva Vacho Yuktam Buddhimamsat Samachare. The statements of lords, empowered servants are always true, and acts they perform are exemplary when consistent with those statements. Therefore, one who is intelligent should carry out those instructions. So we need to see what Lord Shiva does. Lord Shiva is greatest Vaishnava. So we need to follow the Vaishnava principles, not do things like drinking poison. So what does the follower of Lord Shiva do? They take, he cannot take poison like Lord Shiva. We'll be in trouble. We'll be killed. Actually, Lord Shiva drank the poison. He did not allow the poison to percolate below the neck. So before he took the poison, he took permission of Supreme Personality of Godhead and his wife Durga Devi, and then he took the poison. So he did not want the poison to come down to his heart where his beloved Supreme Personality of Godhead is seated. Therefore, he stops the poison at the neck. So if we drink poison like Shiva, if we imitate Lord Shiva, we will be simply killed. Therefore, we should not imitate great personalities. Lord Shiva's followers in India take an intoxicant called as bhang, which is made up of cannabis. Say they don't take poison, but they take intoxicant, bhang, and say Lord Shiva also was taking bhang. But Lord Shiva being Vaishnava, he never takes intoxicants. So people are trying to imitate great personalities like Lord Shiva. This only will cause disruption and degradation of the society. So unnecessarily there is intoxication in the name of Lord Shiva. The followers of Lord Shiva by taking bhang is making them themselves get addicted to an intoxicant, and hence they get degraded. So, so if you see this shloka, Ishvarana Vachas Satyam, this means that when Lord or his empowered representative come to this world, and at that time their activities are in two phases. One are set as an example, and other one is set to demonstrate their position. Both of them are important. Lord Rama is a Maryada Purushottam. Lord Ramachandra Murti is a Maryada Purushottam. So whatever activities he did as a king, husband, son, he did it in an exemplary way. By doing this, he set an example of following duties and principles. There are other incarnations which are done to demonstrate the position. When Krishna shows his Virat root, it is to show his position and power. This is not possible for an ordinary human beings to do. These pastimes are to show his magnificent position. These pastimes are to be understood as such. They are meant to demonstrate his supremacy and they are not to be imitated. Same way, the Raslila pastimes of Sri Krishna are also taken for understanding the pastimes by understanding the underlying principles or underlying instructions. We need to read the commentaries of Acharya to understand these pastimes which are superhuman or which are done by the Lord to explain his or demonstrate his supremacy. Then only we will understand the instructions correctly. Srila Sukadeva Goswami says in the section of Srimad Bhagavatam that violation of law in following the rules only demonstrates its superiority to the superiority to these rules and regulations. There are laws which are to be followed by all of us. Supreme Lord is supreme, and this supremacy is also over the laws. He is superior than the laws which are to be followed by us, all other living entities. Okay, so if supreme is not supreme but subordinate to the laws, then laws will become supreme. So there is a so this needs to be understood. This results. So there is a philosophy called as karma mimamsa, where laws are the governing, they are the supreme. The correct understanding of Vedic knowledge is that Lord is superior to all these laws and he is lawmaker. So karma mimamsa is a atheistic atheistic philosophy because uh, it doesn't consider supreme personality of God as a supreme personality of God. Then so why do we need then law? If Lord himself does not follow law, why we need law? We need law because we are not self-motivated by love at all times. We may be motivated by selfish desires. Therefore, there is a need for law. There is a need for do's and don'ts. For Krishna, there is no selfish desire. He is simply pure. He is simply pure. He is simply transcendental. He is all loving. He is all merciful Lord. Whatever he does, it is supreme good for everyone. He doesn't need any laws to regulate his lower self, for he does not have any lower self. When we need to regulate our lower self, because we have one, we need laws. Krishna acts out of pure love for supreme well-being of everyone, every jiva. When he acts in a way which, according to human moral codes or law, may seem immoral or unlawful, then we need to understand that it is to show his supreme position. He is truly supreme and he is superior than these laws and moral codes. If someone wants to do Rasa Leela, Srila Prabhupada will say that he has to first do the Govardhan Leela. Because when Krishna was 7, he enacted Govardhan Leela, and when he was 8, he did the Rasa Leela. So Govardhan Leela comes first, then comes the Rasa Leela. So our key takeaway is that if I do not perform prescribed duty, all these material worlds will be put into ruin. So if a if a very knowledgeable person, if a very respectable person does not follow rule, then people may probably use that as a reason for not following the rule. That is what is highlighted by Krishna here. So Prabhupada mentioned. Similarly, there are some pseudo devotees of Lord Krishna who prefer to imitate Lord in his Rasa Leela dance of love, forgetting their inability to lift Govardhana. It is best, therefore, That one not try to imitate powerful, but simply follow their instruction. Nor should one try to occupy their post without qualification. I have to share my screen just a moment. There are so many incarnations of God without power of supreme God. So we'll go to the next shloka, 3.25. Sakta karmani avidvamso yata kurvanti bharata kuryad vidvams tata saktas chikirshir loka sangraham. So that means as an ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment for sake of leading people on the right path. So Krishna till now explained the importance of setting an example by following prescribed duties. This way, he clarified that the fourth apprehension of degradation of the society. So, if we see there are four apprehensions and Krishna's convincing answer. So, chapter 1, 27 to 46, there are four lamentations which he says, which Arjuna expresses. So, one is compassion. There is how can I kill my beloved people? So, Krishna is emphasizing that death is inevitable, soul is indestructible, showing compassion for body is useless and ignorance. So it gives a very good explanation about body and the soul, and this point was sorted out. Then enjoyment. No, Arjuna was telling if he is going to win the kingdom, the relatives with whom he would share the success, they are no more there. So where is the question of enjoyment? Why should I kill them? So then Krishna is emphasizing the point by doing the prescribed duties, you will enjoy. If you win the war, you will get a prosperous kingdom. If you die in the war, you will go to heavenly planet. So your real enjoyment is fighting. If you are not fighting, then people will think of you as a disgrace. Think of Arjuna as a disgrace, and they will call him very bad. So his real enjoyment is in fighting. So enjoyment argument got completed in 31 to 38. And then fear of sinful reactions. Then there is a question of fear of sinful reaction. He was telling that if he kills his relatives, he will get sinful reactions. So how to overcome that? So Krishna emphasized the point of Nishkama Karma Yoga. He was telling that do your duty, but do it without attachment to the fruits. So that is what is told in shloka number 39 to 53 in second chapter, which is Nishkama Karma Yoga, fight without detachment. Then there was a fourth point, which is destruction of family traditions. So Krishna has explained in chapter 3, text 17 to 24, that destruction of family tradition will happen only when he is not setting a good example. He being a Kshatriya, very well-known person, he has to follow his duty, and this following of duty is will help prevent the destruction of family tradition. So with this, we we have seen the importance of the all questions of Arjuna were answered. So if you see the chapter 3 overview, first 1 to 9 Karma Yoga is better than Jnana Yoga and practice Karma Yoga. So this was the main emphasis of text 1 to 9. If you see text 10 to 16, if you are not qualified for Karma Yoga, practice Karma Yoga Kanda. The idea is that activity purifies ones. We cannot remain without doing work even for a single moment of time. Therefore, we need to work, and that work is Karma Kanda. So even if no, even if you're qualified for Jnana Yoga, practice Karma Yoga and be an example. Don't renounce and leave the world. So this part is now closed. This section of the Bhagavad Gita closes all the four apprehensions which Arjuna raised in first chapter. Now we are going to the next stage, which is text number 25 to 29 in the chapter 3, which is difference in Karma Yoga and Karma Kanda. So this is what we will be talking about. So now Arjuna may ask a question. He said, based on the section 17 to 24, Arjuna may ask a question that it is okay to set an example, but by actions, by doing actions, I may get bound by reactions. So, what is the use of setting an example if I'm going to get bound by reactions? So, what is the remedy for the bondage? So, that is what Krishna is answering in this section, which is Sakta vid karmani avidvamso yata kuruvanti bharata kurya vidvams tata saktas chikirishu loka sangraham. As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment. This is reiteration of the shlokas, the reiteration of the points which Krishna, Krishna explained in Krishna explained it 2.39 to 2.53. So we'll just go to the shloka again. So here they said, as the ignorant perform the duty with attachment, you perform. Arjuna has to perform it without attachment, but both of them have to act. So this is attachment to results is karma kanda, whereas this is karma yoga. So that is what we will be discussing further in this. So intelligent and learned should act. This action will be similar to unintelligent and ignorant. However, intelligent act to set an example. Intelligent people are acting without detachment, with detachment. Unintelligent people will act with attachment. This is different in their motives. So, though the actions are similar, the motives are different. Those who are detached are the karma yogis. Those who are attached are the karma kandis. Externally, both of them may not seem to act in the same way. Karma yogis are acting with detachment to achieve liberation and go back home, back to God, go to Supreme Personality of God. Karma kandis are acting to elevate themselves to planets for better enjoyment. So the Krishna consciousness, so the consciousness is completely different for both set of people. One of them is Sakta and another one is Asakta. So you can see here, one of them is Asakta and another one is Sakta. So these are very clear. So Sakta means being attached and another one is Asakta without attachment. So this type of setting example helps the people who are attached to access Vedas and gradually elevate to the higher consciousness. Then slowly they can come to spiritual life and start practicing bhakti. If you see the history of our movement ISKCON, becoming devotee just meant joining the movement. Men and women would join the temple. Men and women would join the temple. When the devotee becomes grahasthas, they would stay in the temple only. They would be distributing books and financially also they would get whatever is needed from the temple. Practicing devotional life meant practically dropping out of society and joining the temple full time and living like that. As the movement expanded, congregations developed. Now, ISKCON is primarily and principally a congregation based movement. It has started in many places, many places. So for most of the people, If they want a realistic example of how one want to be spiritual while being in material world, this won't come from the sadhu or from brahmacharis and sannyasis. This has to come from grihasthas. When grihasthas set an example, then the people in general see that all that is talked about is not something impractical or hypothetical, but practical and can be practiced. It is very important for devotees to understand the important role that grihasthas play. Brahmacharis and grihasthas have their important role to play in the army of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Brahmacharis and sannyasis show the role of totally devoted devotion to God and being disconnected from general society for day-to-day activities. This shows that there is a vertical relationship with God. They make the point that relationship with God is reality and it is the real fulfillment in life. So sannyasis and brahmacharis drive home this point. Tangibility and the gravity of spiritual life becomes well evident by seeing the practice of sannyasis and brahmacharis. Grihasthas have the vertical and horizontal connection. They demonstrate that it is possible to remain connected with the God by being part of the society. They set an example for the broader society who have only horizontal connection. So every devotee is important to play their part in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's army to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. If there are no grihasthas and there are only brahmacharis and sannyasis, then the people in general will think Krishna consciousness is impractical. And if there are only grihasthas, then the seriousness in the spiritual life is not there. People will think that spiritual life is just a part-time activity. So Srila Prabhupada emphasized the point that bhakti is our life, it is not part of our life. It is not important, no, it is this is true for brahmacharis, grahasthas, sannyasi, everyone. Bhakti is our life. Thus, each one of us play our part in demonstrating and setting an example. So everybody contributes important and irreplaceable roles. Krishna is emphasizing the point. You know, so emphasizing the point. What point? Be in our varna and set an example. So it is very, very important. So we need to link with the people and work without attachment. So that is very, very important. Let us go to the next shloka, 3.26. Now buddhi bedam janayet ajnana karma sangina joshayet sarva karmani vidvan yukta samachara. So so as not to disturb the minds of ignorant men attached to fruity results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sort of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. So here, most important word is this dovetail. We need to dovetail our activities for Krishna consciousness, in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna is telling that do not disturb the minds of foolish and ignorant people. Ajnana means foolish. Then Vidwan means learned person. So this is also continuation of the thought from the previous verse. In the previous verse, the point was that if you see 3.27, 3.25, if you see 3.25, Sakta Karmani Avidvamso. Avidvamso is ignorant. Vidvams is the one who is learned. So here also it is he's talking about what a learned person will do, what an ignorant person will do. Same thing continues here also in 3.26. What a learned person will do, what an ignorant person will do. So the learned person will not disturb the mind of ignorant man. He should. So learned person should engage the ignorant in all sorts of activities. So we should not disturb these ignorant people, but encourage them to do their work and then gradually elevate them to Krishna consciousness. The center of Krishna consciousness is Vidwan Yukta Samacharan. Vidwan means a learned person engaged in practice. So a wise person will act and set an example how to dovetail activities for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada was very resourceful to engage people with the different talents in different activities of Krishna consciousness. If there are artists, they were asked to paint for temple and for book. If somebody is a good cook, he was asked to prepare boga and engage and then offer it to Krishna. Everyone has some talent. The perfection of a talent is to engage that in service of Krishna. We need not have to reject any talent as material, but dovetail it for Krishna. This theme of Joshet Sarva Karmani is also very, very important. This will come again and again. This is dovetailing. Prabhupada always uses the word dovetail. So, okay. So ultimate purpose of Vedic practice is to elevate everyone to Krishna consciousness. Those who cannot come to Krishna directly, then they need to be brought gradually. Krishna is driving the point here that even if you say no renounce order is higher than household order, renouncing the action is better. Uh, Even if he says that renouncing the action is better than acting in the world, still, if people in general see that responsible people are giving up responsibility, then ordinary people will also give up their responsibility. So this would disrupt the minds. So what uh, a good person or a respectable person does in that is easily copied or emulated by the people in general. And so they will say that if Arjuna did this, why should I? Why shouldn't I? So they will use Arjuna's name for doing wrong things. So Krishna is highlighting following points. First point he made is that Arjuna should set an example. Arjuna should set a good example, not a bad example. The second point is that if somebody renounces with proper understanding of renouncing to take care of higher responsibility and not out of frustration, people will not understand this. So they will only look at the action, not the intention. They don't understand the motive. They will only see the action. The third point is that if you want to take up higher responsibility, then do it in a way that people do not misunderstand. That is the third point. Um, so this should, they should understand it correctly. Misunderstanding will disrupt their minds and it will disrupt the society. So even if Arjuna is capable of renouncing, he should do it in a very, very proper way. If people misunderstand, then the spiritual upliftment is stunted. So the fourth point the Krishna is making here is engage people at their level of understanding and capability in devotional service. This has to be done by setting a very good example. In this verse, Krishna has compared Jnani, Ajnani, Vidvams, Avidvams, Karmakandi, and Karma Yogi. So if you see text number 3.25, Avidvamso yatha kurvanti bharata kuryad vidvams tata saktas asaktas sakta attachment without attachment avidvamso vidvams. See 3.26 it is buddhi bedam ajnana karma sangina. So vidwan. So this all are he is doing comparison. So so it is very important for us to understand the point which Krishna is emphasizing in these shlokas. In text number 3.27, we will talk about once again Vimudatma. Okay. So Prakriti Kriyamanani Gunai Karmani Sarvashaha Ahankara Vimudatma Kartam iti manyate. Kartam, I am the doer. The spirit soul bewildered by influence of false ego thinks himself the doer of activities. and that are in actuality carried out by three modes of material nature. So this is a very, very famous sloka which Prabhupada used many times. He used to frequently quote this verse. So if everything is done by three modes, then um, what is the rationale for Bhagavad Gita to tell Arjuna to do this, do that? Stop going away from the battle and fight. If everything is being done by three modes of nature, why Arjuna should be given instruction that he has to fight? So, what is the logic for these statements that Arjuna has to fight, or how do we understand that if Bhagavad Gita is tell that everything is done by three modes, how do we understand? So, scripture gives philosophy within a context. Vedas give philosophy within a context. This context has to be understood. The point to be understood that the modes are the doers and soul who thinks that he is doing is a fool means that soul is not the only doer. Soul is one of the doers. So what does that mean? So Baldev Vidyabhushan gives an explanation. So that the soul is initiating an action. So in Vedanta Sutra, there is an example. The woodcutter is cutting the tree. Woodcutter is active, but the cutting is done by axe. Woodcutter would not be able to cut without axe. The tool that is axe is very, very essential. The cutter of the tree is axe. At the same time, axe cannot move on its own. Axe has capacity to cut, but it does not have the consciousness to cut. It cannot decide to cut or not cut. Woodcutter is the conscious being who decides to cut and use axe for cutting. Who is important here, woodcutter or the axe, the conscious being or the tool? Both are important. So, summarizing this, for any action, there must be a conscious being with a desire to do the action and an appropriate tool to effect the action. So, Krishna here talks about modes of material nature. Somebody is very passionate about doing a job, say, for example, climbing Mount Everest. For this, he gets trained and prepares himself for the climb. But and he builds strength, stamina, builds courage to handle tough weather situation. With this preparation, he climbs Mount Everest and succeeds in that. In this example, who did the climbing? The body. Here, the body is the tool. Body is governed by laws of material nature. The soul has particular types of desire, which are governed by the nature, modes of material nature. The gamut of the type of desire for the soul is decided by the material nature. Say, for example, a student goes for a competitive exam. He writes a competitive exam, and he sees a multiple choice question. He has to answer the question, "What is capital of India?" He gets three options: Moscow, Washington, Beijing. So these are the only options given, and there is no correct answer in that. What will we do? So here, whatever student selects, that answer is wrong. So when the soul is disconnected from Krishna, the soul is then caught in material nature. So within material nature, there are only three options: ignorance, passion, and knowledge. Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. There is no choice to act outside the three modes of nature. All these three options are binding and are incorrect one. Soul being spiritual has the correct option of action only for Krishna. Serve Krishna's mission. When disconnected from Krishna, the choice available for soul is incorrect and it is bound by the three modes of material nature. So these are from the platform of forgetfulness. So when we act in three modes of material nature, the action is from the platform of forgetfulness. and ignorance of Krishna. So this is the platform of forgetfulness of spiritual identity as well. So there is a variety in material world, but this is material, and hence it is a perverted reflection of the real variety which is there in the spiritual world. The predicament that there is enjoyment and variety in this world is found in non-human species. If you take dog, it does not have any clue of spiritual world. It does not have any clue of spiritual enjoyment. Thus, animals they act in a way that material nature pushes them to act. The material nature also pushes soul in human body to act in a specific way. We cannot entirely reject or resist the pulls and pushes of this material nature. Hence, we have to act in a very responsible way. If we do not strongly resist the pushes or pulls of the material nature, then we will be impelled to act in a particular way. This means that Kshatriya will be impelled to fight, manage, administer. So that is the nature of Kshatriya, which he cannot give up. Vaishya will be always money-minded. That's how his actions will be. The point Krishna is trying to make to Arjuna is that you cannot reject or resist the forces of material nature. So act according to your nature within the limits of dharma. So if you see just sharing the screen, if you see shloka number in chapter 18, it's 41 to 44. It talks about the activities which are done by Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras. So you can see here there is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudras are distinguished by the qualities born of their natures in accordance with material modes, O chastiser of enemy. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which Brahmanas work. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in the battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Then 44th shloka, farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for the Vaishyas. And for Shudras, there are labor and service to others. So, if you take specifically 18.43, Shauryam Tejo Dhritir Dakshyam Yuddhe Chapi Apalyanam Chapal Palayanam Apalayanam Dhanam Ishvara Bhavascha Shatram Karma Swabhavacha. That means not fleeing. Apalayanam means not fleeing from the battle. So, he will right now he thinks he can run away from the battlefield, renounce, but it is not his nature. That is not his Swadharma is. His Swadharma is to fight. Later he will feel bad that he has not fought and may probably do some mistake. Therefore, it is important that we understand our inclinations. So 18.43 specifically talks about Ishvara Bhava, leadership quality. Which means actually Ishvara Bhava means mood of God. So in this sloka, Krishna is talking about Ishvara Bhava in a positive sense. Ishvara is a controller, Krishna is the supreme controller. These positive qualities talk about desirable qualities to be possessed by Kshatriya. These characteristics reveal power and courage of a Kshatriya. These qualities are fact of nature. Instead of resisting or suppressing the nature, we should encourage to doubtate this in service of Krishna. So running away from not staying in the battlefield and fighting. That is what we Arjuna has to dovetail and do. So in 3.26, Krishna is telling Joshayet Sarva Karmani, Joshayet Sarva Karmani, do everything, dovetail everything in my service. Vidvan Yukta Samacham. So Krishna is continuing the thought of 3.26, Joshayet Sarva Karmani in 3.27 also. Ego thinks himself to be doer of activities which are carried out by three modes of nature. He is saying that, oh Arjuna, if you think you are a Kshatriya fighter, renounced as a Jnana yogi, in either case, you are impelled by mind, and mind will act in a particular way due to influence of three modes of nature. So instead of restricting mind, act within the presence of Dharma by dovetailing in the service of Krishna. So we may like to build a career in software engineering or business or whatever it is. But if it is not in service of Krishna, then we need to relook into it and put ourselves in such a way that we are able to dovetail our life in service of Krishna. So that is how we should use this. Krishna is emphasizing the point that you're thinking that you will renounce the battlefield and go to forest. That is, Arjuna will renounce the battlefield and he'll go to forest. That is of no use. It is simply impelled by the modes of nature. This impulse is not in alignment with this normal nature. On the other hand, Arjuna has to understand his normal nature and then act accordingly. This way, Arjuna will not get entangled. This is not surrender our nature completely, but dovetail our nature in service of Krishna. This way, we will ensure that there is harmony and hence no disruption in society. This dovetailing could be Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, which Krishna is talking here. This is because action purifies gradually. It could be also Karma Kanda because action purifies us. The main point from this verse 3.27 is that our material body and mind has some inclination. We need to recognize this. We cannot reject or resist them completely. We need to dovetail it in service of Krishna. I'm sharing my screen again. Let us go to the next shloka, 3.28. तत्त्ववित्तु महाबाहो गुणकर्म विभागयो गुणगुणेषु वर्तन्त इति मत्वा न सज्जते. So one who is in knowledge of absolute truth, who mighty armed, does not engage himself in senses and sense gratification, knowing well the difference between work in devotion and work for fruity results. So here we are seeing that guna guneshu vartanta are being engaged in sense gratification. Guna karma vibhagaya, one who knows the differences of how to work under material nature. So let us go to sloka number 2.16. So tattva means knower of absolute truth. Knower of absolute truth. So let us see here. There is once again in 2.16, Krishna is talking about nasato vidyate bhavo nabhavo vidyate sata ubayor api drishtontas tvai anyas tattva darshivi. Tattva here means the truth. So here is talking about those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and the eternal, there is no change, the soul. This have been concluded by studying the nature of the both. So here, tattva is absolute truth. So this tattva is difference between body and the soul, and this tattva that we are talking about is work in devotion and work for fruity results. There is one more tattva here वदन्ति तत् तत्त्वविदः तत्त्वान् यज्ञानम् अद्वयम् ब्रह्मेति परमात्मेति भगवान इति शब्दे. Learn transcendentalists who know absolute truth call this non-dual substance as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So Krishna is just saying the person who is knower of truth or absolute truth in multiple places. So here, since Bhagavad Gita sets a context in this specific shloka, we need to understand the absolute truth. So when we understand the absolute truth, then we understand that we need to work in devotion, and sometimes we need to allow people also to work for fruitive activities. But being intelligent, tattvavid, we need to work in devotion to Supreme Personality of God. Okay, so there is a lot more things to discuss here, so I'll stop here. Any questions? Hare Krishna, you can now open for discussion, questions. Any questions? Okay, then I think we will stop here. वाचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. ग्रंथराज भगवत गीता की जय. गौर प्रेमानंद. हरि हरि बोल. हरि हरे कृष्णा. Thank you very much.